This is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 90, where we are looking at Gotham Mad City, season 3, episode 11, Beware the Green-Eyed Monster.
I'm David Mazuz, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Drew Powell, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Robin Lloyd Taylor, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Welcome back, Gothamites, to episode 90 of Gotham TV Podcast, where we are looking at episode 11 of season 3, and it is Beware the Green-Eyed Monster. Oh, Jim Bob, you have failed this city.
That's a different show, John.
Oh, yeah, different show. Yeah, what a cracker. Jealousy, and more jealousy.
Absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't Killer Croc, John.
I know it wasn't. It was Killer Jim.
Yes, it was.
It was, yeah. This was the winter finale over in the US of A. So it just shows you how far behind we are here on Gotham TV Podcast.
Yes.
Because we are about to go off on our summer holidays.
Yes, we are. Yeah, it's the sun is splitting the stones outside here. I presume it wasn't like that in New York when this aired back in December of 2016. Wow, that seems like a long time ago. Yeah, we are going on holiday for 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean the podcast is going to stop. I hope we're going to do everything we possibly can to get the next 2 episodes out, as usual on Wednesdays, as we're away. It does mean we will not have a video for the podcast, but we will have our normal audio podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast over at gothamtvpodcast.com/iTunes to get the podcasts when they're released. If you're not an Apple person, you can also pick up the podcast on any good or evil podcast catcher just by searching for Gotham TV Podcast, in case you're not subscribed, of course.
Absolutely. You may hear some slight interruptions of beach sports and also maybe the clinking of ice in a nice pina colada or other cocktail.
Absolutely. So nothing new there. But I'm one of your hosts, Derek, for Gotham TV Podcast, in case you don't know me.
Yes, and I am one of your other hosts, John. And yeah, so we are on the essentially winter finale, the halfway roughly on these 2 story arcs of Mad City and then Heroes Rise in this 3rd season of Gotham. And so, yeah, Derek, what episode details do you have for us?
Yeah, well, this episode, because it's the winter finale, is kind of given a little bit more prominence, I suppose usually the finales are. So this episode was directed by Danny Cannon, who tends to direct the big episodes, the finale and the opener for the season. So one of our big showrunners, been with the show right from the start. I'm sure you've heard us mention him many times before. And the episode was written by John Stevens, the other major executive producer on the show. I know we have Brunner Howler as well, but John Stevens has been involved right back from the end of season 2, I think. Has done many episodes of the show. So, John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis of the episode?
Sure. Infected by Alice Tetcher's blood, Mario vows to make Lee hate Gordon and orchestrates a series of events to make her believe Gordon is trying to sabotage their wedding. The plan works, and just before the wedding, she vows never to see Jim Gordon again. On their honeymoon, a deranged Mario attempts to kill an oblivious Lee, but Gordon arrives and guns him down, much to her shock. Barbara informs Nigma that Cobblepot killed Isabella because he's in love with him. After verifying this information, Barbara and Nigma plan to betray Cobblepot and usurp his power in the mob. Meanwhile, Bruce, Selina and Alfred use the key to open the Court of Owls vault and steal its contents, a crystalline owl statue, but are intercepted by Talon, and Selina's mother reveals herself and helps them kill Talon as he tries to attack them.
What an amount of stuff going on in this episode. I have to say that first.
Loads.
Yeah.
Absolutely loads.
The stuff that's being tied up from the first season, from I think episode 5 of the first season has been tied up in here. We've got loads of stuff with the Jim and Leslie storyline obviously being sorted out in this episode. We've got Mario obviously being very central. But let's start with Penguin. Barbara, fake coughing penguin, as her way of proving you were right, by the way.
I know, I got a theory right.
Absolutely.
Hooray.
So Barbara did use the information that she had worked out about Penguin as a way of elevating herself in Gotham, which we both thought was going to happen. But the way she did it was by telling Enigma that the Penguin's in love with him, and that's why he killed your girlfriend. Interesting play.
It's very interesting because, I mean, she gets Enigma a thinking. She really does. I love the fact that he does everything he can to get Cobblepot to open up to him. Mm-hmm. Finally, he does the Penguin. And what does Enigma say? No, I meant business partners.
Yeah. That was very leading. Very leading. Obviously, he did know that Penguin was in love with him from what Barbara had said to him. So it was purposefully leading. But yeah, I think anybody in that circumstance would think he was coming on to you, right?
Yeah, and Barbara then, obviously, her big plan is to divvy up the city into different areas, and she wants to get control of the mob. Be the queen of the underworld. Yes. The crazy Queen Babs of the underworld.
Absolutely, yeah.
Give Enigma, obviously, the strategy and the thinking behind it, and then use, obviously, the muscle on the street. So, yeah, she's a clever girl.
Yeah, I guess she'd be the new Fish Mooney, I guess. Kind of usurping what the position that Fish Mooney thought she was going to be getting into.
Well, definitely. Yeah. And the thing is that Fish Mooney is still out there.
She certainly is.
She really is. Like, she and Professor Strange as well. They haven't been seen, since episode 3.
Yeah.
So they're still around in Gotham. She is still wanting to reclaim her role in Gotham. So all of a sudden, this adds a really kind of interesting mix to these two really ambitious ladies who are looking to get control of Gotham. Yeah. And in fact, maybe the Penguin's kindness to Fish Mooney in allowing her to live and escape may be rewarded in buckets and spades, really, in that could be one of his way out.
He could have an ally there,
It could be that, she forms and becomes an ally, effectively coming back into the fold of Penguin and Fish Mooney, all the way back from season 1. Full circle almost. Slightly different levels of power, but this could make it really interesting with Fish's return. So definitely excited to see how that goes and where it goes.
And also the big part about that relationship as well is also Butch. So there is that kind of triangle between Butch and Oswald and Fish Mooney, and Butch is obviously aligned with Barbara here because of what Oswald did. So
and because of Tabitha as well. But again, it'll be really interesting to see how Butch Gilzean really plays out this. Because, I mean, if we just think about it, he was loyal to Fish Mooney. He had the brain surgery or the work done. That he was loyal to Oswald Cobblepot.
Yeah.
He is obviously loyal to Tabitha. Whether he has absolutely any loyalty to Enigma, I really doubt that. So you never know. There could be another flip here from Butch Gilzean.
Oh, I love this story.
To see how he can make it work for him. Maybe it will just simply be to let Enigma leave him out to dry, really.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Ed,
interesting.
That's kind of our second point as well, because I just wanted to kind of highlight how cool a moment it was when Ed drops the knife to his hand while Oswald is giving a presentation in the mayor's office and stabs him, which is all a dream. This is all in the imaginings of Ed Enigma. But I thought the scene itself was a great scene because you could see why Ed would be so angry and would do it. He's the kind of person that does have those kind of reactions. A very violent character, as we've seen stabbings many times at the hands of Ed at this stage. But I thought it was quite interesting. I actually believed that he may have stabbed Oswald in the back in that scene.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've had Stabby Babs, and now we get Stabby Ed. I mean, I think it was more an impulse thing of what he would love to do, but Ed is cleverer than that. He definitely knows to draw it out and effectively to crush him was what he mentioned in the bar, to absolutely destroy him and everything that he's created or is dear to him. So, I mean, this has become majorly personal.
Absolutely, and you're right. He probably wouldn't have done it at a press conference in front of the entire Gotham press as well. That's probably true. He probably wouldn't have done it. But it struck me as it wouldn't surprise me, considering he's just lost the love of his life at the hands of this man. So, yeah. But I do love the moment between the two of them afterwards, when Ed is saying to him, giving him a hug and going, "You do realize you're my best friend, and I want you to believe that from now on. You're my best friend." So, what do they say? Revenge is a dish best served cold. So he's setting Oswald up to know that this is his best friend that is coming at him from now on. So
yeah,
okay, very interesting. It also led to the apology, which was one of the best apologies I have ever seen. I'm sorry for cutting off your hand to Jessica Lucas, to Tabitha.
Yeah,
Great little moment.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I mean, again, and like Butch reacts to him like really badly when he comes into the bar. So whether that apology means anything, and again, whether it comes back to Butch really also playing with Ed, maybe with Barbara as well. It'll be interesting to see, but hopefully the three of them at least stick together.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I wonder whether Barbara can keep the other two under control. She's always seemed like a partner, but Tabitha does seem to hold the reins back a little bit on Barbara, and now Barbara's taking a step up. So will Tabitha and Butch go along with her? Time will tell, I think, on that one.
Yeah, I think on to point 3. We have Zaz. Victor Zaz comes back. It's what a joy to see.
It's such a great character, comic book character. We've talked about him many times before, and I love how Anthony Carrigan plays this part of Victor Zaz. It just comes out of nowhere. He seems to be a bit of a knife for hire in the city of Gotham now, who was used by Ed against Butch earlier on in the season, and now he's being used by Mario against Jim here. It's great to see him back. But yeah, a nice little moment there with Zaz, where he's just there to be paid to stand watch over Jim so he doesn't arrive at the wrong time to the wedding, that everything's set up perfectly in advance of Jim's arrival. Yeah,
like, I mean, it was just really good seeing him sort of watching the second hand tick by, and then it's like, right, now I can let you go. And, you know, it's just the enthusiasm of Zaz for the work that he does, and the way that's portrayed by Anthony Carrigan, you know, really just makes the character come alive.
Absolutely.
He takes enjoyment out of his murderous, psychopathic sort of process, and I really enjoy that. And I love the fact that, you know, after that, it's almost as though he could go for a drink with you, because he's done this job.
Yeah.
That's all that was asked of him by Mario, and that's it. But of course, Jim, being Jim, doesn't quite see it that way, so gives him a good old right hook and knocks him out. He probably just overplayed his cards a bit, did Zaz.
That's a bit too comfortable.
A bit. He relaxed a bit too much, I think, in front of crazy, murderous Jim.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
With his green eyes burning brightly.
It is one of the things I love about Gotham, though. I think I've mentioned it a bunch of times. I love when they bring back in some of the villains just for very small cameos, because it does really make the city feel like it is a city. Of course, you're going to cross over people a couple of times. They're going to just pop in and out. If you make an entire episode about Zaz, it probably would be fantastic, to be honest, but having him just pop up for half an episode, like having Mr. Freeze appear for half an episode, that kind of stuff would be great, so that you can kind of see the city is a big city and there's loads of these people popping in and out.
Definitely, yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Definitely, but I think that also brings us on to crazy, murderous, green-eyed, burning brightly Jim.
Guys, board 3, 4? 4.
4, yeah. And Mario... Oh, Mario, left by his brother Luigi, has been murdered.
Not a brother Luigi. No, Falcone's called Luigi. That's a gaming joke.
Yes. What will Nintendo do now that Mario has been murdered in cold blood? Yeah, I mean, this was really interesting. It was funny watching this whole lead up, because, you know, Mario was very careful to make sure that he gets the timing right, like we said with Zaz. Also that, you know, he got Jim on the trail. And I think immediately at one point, I really kind of almost screamed at the TV saying, Jim, what are you doing? But also some of his leaps of deduction on this case. You know, the fact that Lucius Fox had tested Mario 3 times, the results had come back negative, but Jim was having none of it. And I just kind of was thinking, you know, the rational Jim, it's like, how are you making this deduction? Why are you not believing what Lucius Fox has said?
Right.
You know, if it was, if it had been Leslie, would he have accepted it or not? You know, and sometimes Jim's detective work is more of leaps of faith rather than necessarily listening to the evidence or the facts. And I know it's not that kind of detective story. I get that. But I mean, eventually, you know, I kind of did sort of get myself off my sort of rage of how Jim was behaving, and how he was still pursuing it.
Because all your many years of detective work told you that he was wrong, right?
I am an inspector.
That is true.
That is true. But it is the whole point of the episode is he is jealous as hell.
Absolutely.
And there's no rational aspect that can make him come down from pursuing Mario and going after Mario. And of course, that's the whole point. And in fact, even to the point where, you know, confronted with Leslie in the cathedral, in the church, you know, he says, I love you. He actually realizes, and finally confronts what it is that he wanted to say for probably the last season of Gotham.
Yeah.
So it's understandable that he would behave irrationally here, even as a detective. So yeah,
and it was
my initial worries and concerns on that were, okay, this is fine. And actually, I loved how it played out after that. I loved the timing of it. I really did. And I have to say, the actor who plays Mario, I loved just that moment on the dock at the sort of summer retreat between him and Leslie, where she unfortunately seals her own fate by saying, yes, I will always like him, or I will always love him in the sense of that he was once a part of my life.
Yeah.
But that is not what Mario wants to hear at all. And in that moment, she seals her fate with him effectively coming at her, without her knowing. I mean, she's completely as, you know, oblivious to all of this, with a kitchen knife.
Yeah.
But I did love how this played out in the end, and I really enjoyed it, actually. I think in particular, the direction, the writing, and those scenes in the church were between Leslie and Jim were amazing. And then when he's being escorted out and she's walking down the aisle, that is really cinematic. Yeah. It was really, really great direction and great framing. I absolutely loved that.
Total props to Danny Cannon for that scene where Jim's being beaten, and as he's being beaten, the words of the marriage vows are being said, and he's almost getting kicked in time as his heart is being kicked in time with Leslie answering that she wants to be this man's husband, or this man's wife, and he answering that he wants to be her husband. Just being kicked in time and beaten in time, he rallies for a moment and then is taken down again as the priest says, "You are now man and wife. You may now kiss the bride." A beautifully put together scene, really like top of their game moment for Gotham, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, we get a great slap from Leslie, which, to be honest, really liked it. I think Jim does need a bit of a slap from time to time, just to earth him a bit.
Yeah. It is really fascinating. Obviously, in real life, outside of the show, these two actors are together now. They got married 2 weeks ago. They have a child together. It's really interesting that on the show they've decided to take it the exact opposite direction. So in real life, they've getting closer and closer and closer. In the show, they're breaking apart and becoming effectively. What happens at the end of the episode is that Leslie does hate Jim. She's gotten to the point now that Mario has achieved his goal. Jim is now hated by Leslie because he's murdered her new husband in front of her. And Mario has convinced Leslie that he's doing it out of jealousy, even though Jim knows that it was because he was about to murder her. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I do think I have sympathy for Mario in the sense that he's infected with this this virus from Alice Tetcher's blood, and he cannot do anything about it. And I think that's why it's interesting that ultimately, Jim races in after promising Falcone that he won't shoot his son, and that and Falcone really stressing how much Mario means to him. And it almost seemed as though Jim had the gun ready and just went in shooting.
Yeah.
And of course, we see the knife slip into the lake, or to the bay, get pulled out by the tide and the waves. And poor Leslie is wondering, what on earth? I can't obviously swear on this podcast.
No, you can't.
But,
If we had the swear jar in play,
if she could, she would have said the F word.
Yes. Without a doubt.
Without
what's
a
he going to
shadow
do?
of a
Is he going to
doubt.
make her go inside and count all the knives and forks and say there's one missing? The one missing is the one that's in the bottom of the river that I saw and you didn't. He really has no way out of this. And this is why I wanted to stress at the beginning of the episode, this was the winter finale for the US. So there was almost a month after this to find out what happens. So, yeah, you're left with this big cliffhanger that is Jim and Leslie's relationship is at its end here, and he has no way out.
Yeah. And, it is a question of, I presume that this goes downhill very rapidly from now on. And what happens with Carmine Falcone? At the end of the day, I'm sure Jim now has another person who's going to be after him. I do, as I say, I have some sympathy for Mario because he's someone infected, needs help in the same way that Barnes does. There is this talk about trying to get some kind of antidote for it. So, he's acting because he's infected.
Yeah.
Not because he has murderous intentions. If he wasn't infected and he's not acting like a mobster out naturally, it's because of the virus, and as such I do have some sympathy with Mario.
Agreed.
Because we do see here that Tetch poisoned him in the hospital in Gotham, so they had all that time away from Gotham, and obviously when they first arrived. So I mean, Tetch is a real like he's a destroyer of worlds here.
Absolutely. And it's one thing that I want to talk about with the virus itself. So we did learn this a little bit with Barnes. What the virus does is it amps up what your own personality is. So Mario is a jealous guy, effectively, especially jealous of Lee. But the idea here is that it's amping up what he already knows about himself, what he believes in himself anyway. So he doesn't feel like the virus is taking control. Just like Barnes didn't feel like the virus was taking control. He believes he's fully in control of what's going on. And his jealousy is right, is what he believes.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's a really tragic story and a really tragic end for Mario, that he got the woman he loved. She didn't believe Jim. She is going to move away from him. But still, the fact that she says there will always be a part of me that loves him still pushed him over the edge and still pushed him into the jealous rage. Yeah.
So, yeah, Leslie married a crazy man.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of crazy in Gotham.
Yes, there is. Yeah. Yeah.
And Jim, I think, might be borderline crazy.
I think he might be. But it is really interesting. The other thing that just kind of popped into my head that I thought was interesting is he fought so hard to get the magazine of bullets back off Zaz. Zaz was going to keep those. Jim was going to leave with an empty gun under Mario's plan. Jim gets the magazine of bullets back. If he hadn't gotten those back, it could have ended off in a fist fight with Mario, not a dead Mario, and not the hatred from Leslie. Not Falcone now possibly after him for the rest of the season. By Jim's own actions, he put himself in a position where he had a gun loaded with bullets aimed at the head of his ex-girlfriend's husband. That's the word. God, that was difficult to get out. But yeah, that's quite interesting that it is his own actions that put him in this position.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But speaking of family ties,
yes,
I think we have another family, a reunited family. I think our fifth case note here is we have Selina's mother arrive in Gotham.
Absolutely. This is the one I was talking about. So back in season 1, episode 3 or 4, I think we hear a conversation with Selina when she's about to be moved out of the city, where she's saying that she wants to find her mom, who left her behind, who went off and disappeared. And we found nothing else about her, and nothing else about her since that time. We thought that something was going to happen in season 2. We thought there was going to be a storyline there where Selena would go off and find her mother. Nothing ever came of that. So suddenly we have Selena's mom turning up to help her defeat the Talons.
Yeah. Is she a whisperer then?
Perhaps, yeah.
Maybe that's where Selena, maybe it's almost genetically imprinted into her, this ability to steal and pickpocket, in the sense that the whisperers were effectively moving contraband goods around.
And the criminal gang.
You know, so...
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I thought this was really interesting. I thought the glass owl statue as well was like, okay, is that something that needs to be broken to find out what's inside it? Otherwise, the Court of Owls is really just hiding a precious crystal statue.
It'll be interesting, yeah.
I hate crystal as well.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, moving on from that hatred of crystal, it was an interesting thing that was being protected. You know, does it contain something? Is it something like from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? No, not the Last Crusade. The first one, where, you know, it's something that weighs down something and opens something up.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah. Is it, you know, does it, and then open something up? What is this owl? Because that's not what I was expecting. To see a fine bit of crystal in the safe being so heavily guarded. But it was good to see, like, we do get a glimpse of Selena's mother, and you think it's the Talon watching over Alfred and Bruce and Selena as they're kind of casing the building where all the safe and this statue is. I mean, it's great having the Talon come after them. You know, Alfred must have been going, I am not getting stabbed again. There's no way that this half-mast, pointy-featured man is going to stab me again, and I'm certainly not going to get into hospital again. So it was great to see Alfred finally beat the stabby knife.
Oh, yes.
So I think that's about 3-1 to the stabby knife.
I think so at this stage.
Yeah.
I did like the fight scene itself was fantastic between Bruce and Alfred and the Talon, and Selena. Selena was kind of dancing around the outside a bit. I think she was waiting for her moment to pounce. Lots of cat analogies there. I really, really like that. But it's also really interesting that this particular scene, or these particular scenes with Alfred and Bruce, again show Alfred is totally willing to follow Bruce to do anything. Bruce has convinced him that him as a 15-year-old kid and Selena as a 16-year-old kid take the place of trained adults who were originally going to go in and do this whole stealing operation in the home of the Elves. They were the ones that were going to do it. They all got killed off by the Talon, and Alfred goes, okay, well, I guess I'll rely on Bruce's decision here to bring Selena along. So thought that was quite interesting as well. And we do see Selena really channel Catwoman here. This moment where she walks across the
absolutely, yeah, that was really, really good seeing that.
Doing pretty well,
stepping up, and like ultimately being the complete cat thief here.
So good, cat burglar, yeah.
Cat burglar, yeah, exactly. Really, really good, yeah.
And I have to say, the strength of David Mazouz, of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
you know, I'm sorry, and I know that Cameron Brickendova is a dancer and she's very light, but holding a piece of string or a piece of rope that taut while somebody's walking across it must be really difficult. I was expecting to just tie it to something.
Yeah, same here. That requires strength. I'm sure it was tied somewhere.
Probably in real life. But we'll say it's the strength of the bat.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. For Gotham, it's the strength of the bat. In reality, it was the strength of it being tied off somewhere.
Probably.
And probably the stunt wires on Selena. In fact, that would be the interesting thing for me, because she is a dancer, great balance. Did she attempt that without any sort of stunt wire support?
I like that idea. I think Cameron could do that.
I think so too. Because it really looked like the expression of concentration on Selena's face. It did kind of look more than just acting. Like, it looked really focused. And so I'd be interested to know.
We'll have to ask if we ever get Cameron on the show. So where do you think this is going with Selena's mom arriving back in Gotham, John?
I have no idea. I suspect it is connected to the Court of Owls and the Whisperers. Either that or it's an entirely new dimension that we're going to see, around Selena and her mum, and what her mum is, what she does, where she's been, what she's been doing. Yeah. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing that dynamic, though, of Selena, who's been the independent street urchin along with Ivy Pepper. And now all of a sudden her mum's here. And just how does that change things up?
Absolutely. Or what's her reaction going to be to this woman coming back into her life? Yeah,
exactly. Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? I mean, at least one thing, if I was Selena's mum, I'd be saying, well, you're moving out of that hovel that you're sleeping in at the moment.
Yeah, but she doesn't seem
Are they going to reunite? It'll be interesting.
She doesn't seem to take direction very well to Selena. One final thing, I suppose, before we close out on our top 5 points, just Alfred does kill Talon at the end of this. He does put a knife into the jugular.
Oh, big time. It was proper Bondy, actually. I mean, 00 Alfred is back. I love it when he brings on his fighting shoes, and really goes all out, because I think it really connects you with his military past.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really such a fascinating part of Alfred's storyline. So I love seeing this. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. So again, we've got the dead Talon. So I wonder what that means. You know, there is something in the comic books about the Talons, but that may not be the last we will see of Talon. That's what I want to see in the show. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't watched ahead, like we haven't. But I'd be intrigued if there are other Talons in the waiting.
Well, I think in the comics there are more than one Talon, like in a sense that that is passed along as well. If one dies or one is killed.
Okay, we will.
So there will hopefully be Talons waiting in the Owly wing.
Absolutely. That's our top 5 points for the week, I think.
Yeah.
Happy enough?
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's on to our Bullockism of the week. Yeah. A couple in here from our wonderful Harvey Bullock. We still have our competition open for a Bullockism of the week. We're going to keep it open a little bit longer. The reason why is because we thought, by saying we would do our prize halfway through the season, what we thought was our UK listeners would be able to watch the show. They still haven't been able to watch the show. It still has not been released as we're recording now. No episodes of Gotham have aired in the UK. So we're going to keep it open a little bit longer. Time-wise, we will be closing it off at some point later on in the season. And thanks very much to Bob, who sent in his Bullockism of the week. We've got a few more that are in there in the hat. If you want to send in your Bullockism of the week, just send us an email to feedback@GothamTVPodcast.com with your favourite Bullock moment from any season, to be honest. Why not enter the competition? You could win our Harvey Bullock Pop and the base card set for Gotham Season 1, kindly provided by one of our listeners. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Bullockism of the week, one is, I'm Captain Jim. And Jim replies, yeah.
I love this moment. I love the moment where Jim's just telling everybody what to do all around them and telling Harvey really what to do. And Harvey's going, no, I'm the captain here. What's going on? I really like that. The other one from Harvey, which is probably my favorite one so far this season, is when Harvey comes in on the murdered body that Mario has murdered. He goes, "This is just a classic case of wrong place, wrong time. One man takes another man's skull in his bare hands and crushes it. I see it all the time." Harvey Bullock, I know he's had a hard life as a police officer, but that would be a pretty bad day if you saw that every single day, right?
Absolutely. And finally, another really good Bullockism in this episode. So someone else is infected with the virus. That's just great. It isn't you, is it? Because that would sure make things easy.
To Lucius.
And
Lucius just goes, no, it isn't me. So obviously some little banter between those two characters as well. I'm not too sure whether Harvey's a big fan of Lucius's smart guy ways.
I think Harvey is more gut. Lucius is more evidence.
Absolutely.
Indeed, yeah. But yeah, I mean, for me, I would certainly give this episode of Gotham 4 penguins out of 5 penguins.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Did you just cough penguin there?
I did.
Okay.
Maybe. I really enjoyed the Mario tale here. It was great having, that that planning, the scheming from him, but also just how it played out with Leslie and with Jim, certainly in the church. And I think that is some of the more poignant, actually. It was actually quite poignant, the breaking up of, these two characters, so resolutely.
Yeah.
After Jim had professed his love for her, but it had all just gone too far. And yeah, I think that camera work of Jim being led out by Falcone's henchmen, and obviously Mario crazily infected with jealousy from the Tetch virus, walking Leslie up to the altar and marrying her with the vows. I thought that was just so well done.
Yeah.
Great to see Barbara and obviously Nigma coming together in this sort of revenge against Oswald Cobblepot. Another really good bit. And of course we have Zaz in here, and we have the big reveal of the Glass Owl statue and Selina's mother, more importantly. Again, so much potential to go on here. It really is a fantastic season. I mean, I've said it probably at the end of each episode, but this is a really solid quality season of Gotham. I think they've really found their groove.
And a good cliffhanger for the end of the season. One tiny little note for the episode. I did really, really like Jervis Tetch's hat in this episode. The fact that he's in Arkham Asylum and has just made himself a replica of his top hat out of newspaper. Thought that was quite cool.
Yeah.
Looks exactly like the hat that he wears outside. So I love Arkham. There's obviously some craft
Design technology classes, yeah.
There must be.
Bit of metal work, probably.
I think it's time to get on to feedback, John.
Yeah.
So our feedback comes from Daniel Butcher. He's asking, won't you read this feedback too early? Romantics all want to know. We didn't, Daniel. We watched the episode and read the feedback like we usually do. Like we will from any of our listeners if you want to email us at feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. Daniel goes on to say, though I totally forgot about the needle prick. Here I wanted him to be a Talon. At least we know this assassin in a Nightwing mask is Talon, or a Talon. Wow, Alfred did hold his own versus Talon. What are the chances he comes back? I think it's pretty good. Yeah, exactly to my point. I have a feeling that we are going to see a Talon back. Yeah.
No, it's almost a bit Hydra-like, cut off the head of one, but actually only one comes back.
So it's not much.
So it's not totally like Hydra. Just only half.
Yes.
Half Hydra.
Daniel goes on to say, that's my mom. As obviously Selina seeing her mom. So, a bit of a shocking ending for the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. He goes on to say, Bruce, given up much for love. Honestly, I read a Rebirth Batman title where Selina talks about how they are similar and different. I really want those kids to get together.
I know.
Yeah. I'm really liking how they're dealing with Bruce and Selina in Gotham. I think it's really good that it is so drawn out.
Yeah.
Actually, because I think the relationship is always drawn out with these two characters in the comics. They never quite can settle on one way or another, and so it makes sense for this. I really like it. Absolutely agree there with you, Daniel. Daniel goes on to say, shouldn't Jim be put on leave for discharging a weapon? Let's hope so. There's certainly, Jim, I think, might be possibly my least favorite character in the show.
Interesting. Okay.
But I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think everyone else is much more consistent. But that's probably the point of Jim Gordon. I don't know. He's just so impulsive. I mean, he would have been locked up in any other police force, but he also then talks about doing good and so. I mean, I think he's a little mixed up, is old Jim.
But to the question, I do think Gotham's laws are a little bit
I know.
No, I think they're just a little bit less restrictive than the real world. So discharging a weapon in Gotham is probably not a being put on leave offence in Gotham. I'm not sure.
Well, he's more Judge Dredd, I think, than Jim Gordon, I think.
Okay.
He is the law.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not sure. But anyway, Daniel goes on to say, oh man, I guess begin the Riddler Penguin War has. Nice Star Wars. Little moment there. Yeah, we are going to see Riddler versus Penguin as when the next episode of the show comes out. And finally, Daniel says, I guess Barbara's new alliance does help keep her relevant. I love the apology. I love what they're doing, Barbara. Yeah, we have for the whole season, and I love this idea now that she's allied alongside Ed Nigma now to take on the rest of the city of Gotham.
Yeah, it's an intriguing alliance. Will it hold?
Definitely. Yeah, interesting.
Will it, won't it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that feedback. Daniel, as I said, if you want to email us, just email us to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com.
Absolutely. And please come over and join our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Gotham TV podcast. And as always, the offer is always open to leave a voicemail on our website at gothamtvpodcast.com. It's over on the right hand side. Leave a 90-second voicemail of feedback, discussion, comment on any of the episodes, and we will play it along on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Of course, as well, you can watch our episodes on YouTube every Wednesday or listen at gothamtvpodcast.com/iTunes. Leave a review, subscribe to us over there, and you can obviously join any other good or evil podcast catcher. Just search Gotham TV Podcast.
Yeah. I love that we've said watch on YouTube. I think that's just because we usually say it. So there will not be an episode on YouTube for the next two, just because we're on holidays, but we'll have the podcast out, hopefully, as we go. The next episode coming up is Ghosts, episode 12 of Mad City Gotham. So yeah, that's going into January. I think that was released towards the end of January of 2017. So we won't have to wait that long. We've got that's coming out next week. So hopefully that will be out in your podcast catcher of choice by Wednesday, June the 28th. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine in the middle of summer. If that's when you're listening to us, we're about to go off and do that too. So.
Absolutely. As always, thank you so much for listening, and we'll speak with you again soon.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for being a Butch supporter. Butch loves you, baby.